lost too much. And speaking of losing too much, this week marks the 1 year anniversary of the untimely passing of the late great Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey was not only a music artist but an entrepreneur. He was a community activist. He was a father. He was a brother. He was a son. He was a homie to a lot of his partners that he put on and made sure that they had jobs, made sure they had outlets to do and display their talents as well. Jay Stone happens to be one of them. You got Pac-Man. You have Killer Twine. You have a lot of guys that are with All Money In, his brother Black Sam, his cousin Adam, those guys, props to those brothers over there that continue to keep the legacy going, along with Lauren London, and people at Puma that continue to, that I don't know if you paid attention, but that line sold out in about, I believe, an hour, if that. Like that's saying a whole lot how people want to continue to keep the marathon, continues the legacy going. And the thing about it with Nipsey was that I only had one brief encounter with Nip. One. That was it. I mean brief. I mean literally, no pun intended. It was literally a minute long. Period. That was it. Good brother. Cool. I just gave him his props. I said, man, I like what you're doing with the community. I can feel it. I'm about a mile or so away from here, so I see the ripple effects of what you're trying to do and how you're bringing the streets together and incorporating that with the business side and, people like Dave Gross and you bring in the politicians to try to bridge that gap and make the community better than where you left it. And that's one thing that I applauded Nipsey for doing, man, was just the fact that he wanted to make sure he wanted to be a part of the community and rebuilding and building up, not continuing to tear it down like the stereotypical reports that have come out about him. Yes, we know he was a member of the Crips. Yes, we know what went down with that. But like anybody else, we all have to grow and mature. And that brother had such a sharp and wise business mind beyond the music. Like I respected Nipsey more for his business acumen than his music, even though he was a dope MC and he had great music. But I respected Nipsey for his business acumen because it was showing a lot of young brothers and a lot of young sisters out there that you can buy back your block, and this is how you can go about doing it. To see that come to fruition and continue to have his Marathon clothing store in his community, even though he could have went to Fairfax or he could have went on Melrose or Sunset somewhere up there, and maybe he still would be here.
That's what I was just thinking. Maybe that's the sad thought.
But you can't fault a man for wanting to build in his own community. And it was just sad, man, how they took that brother out. And ironically, the BBC network, which is the British Broadcasting Company, is doing a documentary, an in-depth documentary on the murder of Nipsey Hussle. And I always said, if they really told the truth about what truly happened to Nipsey, there's a lot of stones that are going to be unturned that some people want to suppress. And there are a lot of things out there that they throw narratives out there. Don't just bite on the bait so quickly when they throw out, such and such, they beat him up the week prior. He came back. He shot at Nip. It was by himself. It was some gang stuff. Don't be so quick to bite on the bait.
I was at a restaurant one day and they were playing some Nipsey Hussle, and there was an older couple, like considerably older. I don't know how old they were, but the old man was like bobbing his head to the music. And they just reminded me of an old me and Nick, because he's bopping his head to the music, and she goes, "Who is this?" And he's like, "Because I'm not the most hip hop."
I gotta catch her up.
I'm working on it.
She getting there. She gonna graduate.
The little old lady was like, "Who is this?" And he was like, "This that Nip." And then
it's that neighborhood Nip. He about to
like,
bang on her like he about to go hardcore.
So, I love watching old people because you can learn so much from them. But she was like, "Oh, okay." So she tried to start listening, and then she asked him again. She's like, "But who is he?" And so he kind of broke down the story of, who he was, his legacy, where he came from. And then this old lady, who clearly knew nothing about Nipsey, said to him, she goes, "Oh, well, they killed him because, if he was in that life, he would be the voice that could help people change that life. And they don't want us doing that." Never knew anything about Nipsey.
You know what? I don't know, because obviously we can all have theories and ideas. But to be a 33-year-old young man growing up in the environment that he grew up in, he had the wisdom of a 50-something-year-old. He was definitely ahead of his time. He was ahead of his years. Nipsey, I could see 10 years from before he was murdered. 10 years before that, I could see him running for a political office. Yeah. Bloods and Crips could not, if you were a Crip, and a major Crip, you could not go to certain Blood neighborhoods and vice versa. The fact that Nipsey Hussle was able to galvanize a lot of dudes on the streets, go through different hoods with respect, Go through the Nickerson Gardens. That's how him and Killer Twine, you know, got together from according to when I talked to Twine. And they took pictures in the Nickersons talking about, and there's a mural in that project, in the housing project, I believe, that has "Nobody can beat this war but us," and it has a red and blue thing. It has two hands like this. If you ever seen it in Watch, you know what I'm talking about. And so when you see the epic magnitude of what that represents, when you saw because I had a chance to go to the funeral and to be at the funeral, then watch the procession go through several different hoods through Los Angeles till it came through his hood on Slauson and Crenshaw, and then finally went into the Angeles funeral home. That, to me, galvanized the city. You would have thought the Lakers or the Kings or some LA team won because it was so many people from different backgrounds that got together to represent and pay their respects for Nip. It was amazing. And that show you the impact that this man had, not just on a city, not just on a county, not just even on a state, but globally. Nipsey Hussle was a global icon.
Yeah, he was.
Period. Much like we talk about Kobe Bryant. Kobe obviously was in a different way. But ironically, during the Trayvon Martin situation, after Trayvon Martin was murdered, his parents were going on a crusade to bring awareness about laws and brutality and how the judicial system was unjust, which it's always been. They came to Crenshaw High School. Nipsey Hussle was there. Kobe Bryant was there. Trayvon Martin's family was there. To see those two brothers together at that time, I don't think people really understood the magnitude of having those two at the same time and how dangerous that was. Because there were parties there that did not want them to connect and be there for that cause. People don't realize how much people put their necks on the line for certain things because it's not blasted in front of your TV screen or blasted on social media as evident as we've seen other things do. These brothers put their necks on the line for that. Nipsey was a dude that was about his cause. It was about his community. And to take that brother away from us was foul.